What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
One day, a guy walked in a military uniform in Quiznos, and I started talking, and I basically was like, "What do you guys do?" And he was like, "We're in the military." And I think it was like maybe Air Force guy or something. And no disrespect to the Air Force guys, but I was like, nah, that's not for me. He was talking about, because he basically was talking about all the non-combat roles, right? And like it sounded cool. Yeah, it sounded cool, but I was like, that sounds kind of not for me. And so for whatever reason, though, it piqued my interest of like, well, what about the military? I never thought about that. And I only really had two data points that kind of drove that interest. The first was I was in 8th grade when September 11th happened. And I remember I went to a school where there was a lot of families from New York who had moved to North Carolina. And so many of these kids had extended family members, people who lived in downtown Manhattan, worked in the towers, like all these different things. And so they literally shut school and the parents came and got the kids. Right. And I remember being like, what happened? Yeah. And when I went home, I remember talking to my parents, and I think it was my dad who told me something to the effect of like, somebody tried to kill a lot of Americans today. And for whatever reason, I remember just being pissed. Yeah. And then I remember just like, I'm in 8th grade. Like, who am I to care about this? Right. But it stayed.
It hit something in you. Yeah.
And then the second was Pat Tillman. So Pat Tillman was a NFL player who he basically turned down I think it was a $3.5 million NFL contract to enlist after September 11th. He went overseas. The story at the time was that he had gotten killed fighting the Taliban. Turns out that it was actually friendly fire that had killed him. But I remember thinking, like, if this guy who is an NFL player who turned down millions of dollars could go do this, well, why shouldn't I do that? Right? Why shouldn't I consider this as an option?
What a guy. Seriously.
I mean, savage.
What a guy.
Right? And
I remember that, like, as a very little boy. Like, my
crazy.
dad, like, yeah, this guy is leaving, the Cardinals, because like, I was a big sports fan. I'm like 7 years old, whatever it was. It's like he's literally leaving to go fight for America. It's cool as shit.
Like, imagine being in an NFL locker room and somebody comes in and is like, yeah, I know, like, we got the life, but like, I'm going to go do this. Yeah. Right. And it was incredible. And so it was very inspiring to me to see somebody who had done that. And I think that part of it was like, why not me? And so I remember calling around, and eventually I get to an Army kind of like, I don't know if it was a recruiting video or what. I found something online and it was like, oh, like the Army sound like their videos look like the shit I'm trying to do, right? They're jumping out of planes. They're shooting guns. There's no pencils and paper anywhere in this video. Like, this shit sounds awesome, right? And so I walked into a recruiting center and I literally was like, do y'all need help? And they were like, basically, like the music stops, right? And I was like, who the f is this guy? Yeah. And so guy sat me down and he basically was just like, yeah, like they needed a lot of people. And again, going back to kind of the economic incentive, they were offering signing bonuses.
Now, how does that work?
They stroke you a check if you sign the paper.
Right there.
Now, the way that it works is to a 17-year-old kid, I was like, well, damn.
This is help from Quiznos.
If I sign an NFL contract, I get a signing bonus. I'm basically like a free agent right now. How much you talking? And so it was $20,000.
Oh, all right. Listen, you're making $725 an hour.
$775, and I'm paying gas and all this stuff, right? Guy's got a thing on his hand, getting stabbed by his girlfriend. All of a sudden, I'm like, $20,000. That's a big check, right?
Hey guys, if you have a second, please be sure to share this episode around on social media and with your friends, whether it's Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. It's all a huge help. It gets new eyeballs on the show, and it allows us to grow and survive. So thank you to all of you who have already been doing that, and thank you to all of you who are going to do so now.
And so he goes, now there's a sliding scale for the signing bonus. $20,000, those are the dangerous jobs. I said, now you're talking my language. Not only are you going to let me do the dangerous stuff, but you're also going to pay me more to do it? You guys are dumb. Like, sign me up. And so at 17, you can't sign the papers. Your parents have to approve it because you're under 18. Right. So pretty much up until this point, my parents don't know any of this.
Oh, you didn't tell them you were going to the office? Nothing?
No, nothing. So then I'm like, all right, I want to do this. So now I got all the materials. It's in like a nice folder. You know, it's definitely directed at the young man who's going to be signing up, not the parents.
Right.
And so I go and I talk to my mom, or I'm sorry, I go talk to my dad first. And my dad's like, I don't want any part of this. I'm not being involved. Your mom is the only person who's going to give the thumbs up, thumbs down on this. And I had like maybe 4 or 5 months until my 18th birthday at this point, because I think I left in March. So this is probably like February timeframe or so. And I remember kind of like in the back pocket being like, well, I could just threaten to wait till my 18th birthday. Like, they can't stop me. And so I go talk to my mom, and she's like 2 seconds into the conversation, no. Okay. Well, what about, and for like 3 days, every 5 minutes, what about, and to the point where she finally was like, you know what? You have a lot of free time on your hands.
Yeah.
You've been fucking around in school, basically. Like, maybe this will actually be good for you. Right. And
she did a total 180.
Some structure, some leadership training, like all these things. And I think part of it was she was nervous, but also she probably had some degree of like, I'd be proud of my son to go and do this. And so she finally relents. She agrees. She signs the paper, and you got to pick a job. And so you take this test, and the test that you take allows you certain opportunities to go through. It's called an ASVAB test. And I scored pretty well on the ASVAB. And so I also knew I was going to college, though. So now I got like, in August, I got to be there for football at Bucknell University. And we're talking this February, March. So I'm like, all right, what job requires 3 things? Is dangerous, gets me $20,000 check, and I can be done with training and back by August. And they're like,
inside of a 6-month time period?
Everything. And they're like, son, we have just a job for you. Okay, what is it? You can be a truck driver. Why is that dangerous? They're like, oh, they try to blow you up. I'm like, great, sign me up for that. So literally, my original contract that I signed was a truck driver. I was going to go and I think it was an 88 Mike is what they called it, which is the job description. And I was going to go be a truck driver. I didn't know what I was signing, to be honest. I'm getting $20,000. They told me it's dangerous. I can get back by August. I'm in. And I also had to sign a contract where I wasn't going to go to a full-time active duty military unit because I'm in college.
Oh, so they were going to give you the flexibility on that. They're not
so they
saying
had a contract
just like enroll.
At the time with the Army National Guard, where you could basically go serve in a National Guard unit. Oh. You would go once a month for 4 years, and then after you got out of school, you're supposed to do ROTC, come out as an officer, and then you would go serve your active duty time. So kind of reverse it. Most people do like 3 or 4 years active, and then they have some reserve time, and then they get out. This is kind of the reverse. And it was a program, again, you're trying to get people who have some degree of intelligence, et cetera, come into the military. You want to train officers. You want to go, and they knew we're going to be fighting this war for a while.
This is still Iraq at the time, obviously, right? It's like 08, something like that?
This is 2006. I'm going through all this.
Okay.
And so I go to basic training. Basic training was cake. Like, this is like normal Army basic training. They're like, do push-ups. I'm like, this is fun as shit. I remember going through basic training, and literally the drill sergeants would like call me over. And there was another kid, I forget his name, but like the two of us would get called over, and they'd be like, look at how good our guys are. And they'd just be having us bang out push-ups and shit. And they were like joking with us. And that's when I realized, I was like, wait a second. This is supposed to be some super complex, hard thing that like breaks people. I mean, there's like fucking dudes crying and shit. You're like, bitch. Right? Like we're fucking doing push-ups, right? What is going on here? So like, you're probably not going to make it, right? But it's a very testosterone-filled environment, all this stuff. But what you realize was like, first of all, I'm 17 years old. There's guys there that are in their early 20s, mid-20s, et cetera. So like, you have an advantage that you're just young and like fairly stupid. Right. 2, you're physically fit because I'm going to play college football. And 3 is, it was the first time in my life I realized, wait a second, the better that you are at basically like, they can't break me type stuff, and I actually enjoy the pain, they respect you.
Yes. And
so then it just became a game, right? They call it smoking you. So if you did something stupid, they basically take you outside. And I remember there's one kid, this kid is a fucking animal. They would literally bring him outside, and they'd have him do something called iron mics, which basically you put your hands behind your head, and then you just do lunges, and they would just be like, walk to that like telephone pole out there and walk back, like iron mic it, like half a mile.
Whoa.
Right? And like the dude would be like falling over.
Yeah.
But he never complained. Never complained. And I remember this kid's face, like, just seared in my brain. Cause I remember just being like, dude, that guy's tougher than me. I don't know if I could do that, right? But like that dude, they smoke him every day because he's always doing dumb shit, but he don't complain. And so guess what? Eventually they're not going to like mess with him anymore.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.